Gluttony, wrath, and skin conditions? Here are some of the sins that'll get you kicked out of Golden Corral. Various news stories have recounted the tale of a family who were asked to leave Golden Corral because one of the kids looked ill. Danielle Duford of Garden City, Michigan, and her 4 daughters visited Golden Corral in 2011. 3 of the young daughters have epidermolysis bullosa, and the baby had scabs all over her body, as the disease makes it easy for skin to blister from slight friction. Perhaps understandably, the employees were concerned. The mother tried to explain the genetic disease to Golden Corral employees, pointing out that it wasn't contagious. However, the management asked the Dufords to leave, apparently because they still weren't convinced. Plus, they said the sight of the kids was making other diners nervous. When the girl's father showed up at the restaurant and found out what was happening, he refused to leave, making a scene and leading the manager to call the police. While nobody was arrested, the family wasn't allowed back into the buffet to continue their meal. After Golden Corral kicked the family out of the restaurant, the U.S. government filed a lawsuit on their behalf. The lawsuit was based on the restaurant violating the Americans with Disabilities Act. Not only did a United States District Court in Michigan award the family $50,000 in damages, but the restaurant had to pay a civil penalty of $10,000 and undergo ADA training. Getting kicked out of Golden Corral for eating too much is harder than you might think. In fact, it seems that there's only one known instance in which a customer claimed they were actually asked to leave Golden Corral for overdoing it. So while it might not always be an all-you-can-eat buffet, it usually is. Plenty of people have gone through those doors with lofty eating goals in mind, putting away dozens of plates of food. YouTuber Airrack, for example, brought 50 competitive eaters to one Golden Corral restaurant, and the management prided itself in being able to restock the buffet even though the customers ate a total of 500 pounds of food. At one point, there was a rumor going around that a morbidly obese man was kicked out of Golden Corral for eating 50 to 70 pounds of food, causing him to sue the chain for $2 million. The man was given different names in different articles, however, and the rumor eventually proved to be false. That said, one man named Chris Dubuque did go on the record on a WBUR National Public Radio podcast, claiming he'd once been kicked out of Golden Corral for eating too much.
That man ate all our shrimp and 2 plastic lobsters.
"'Tis no man, 'tis a remorseless eating machine."
He said he loaded each plate with around 5 pounds of food. After his 6th plate, the waitstaff began to comment on his excessive food intake. After 2 hours and 9 plates, he claimed an employee asked him to leave to make room for more customers. At the time, there were apparently plenty of empty tables remaining in the restaurant. Golden Corral seems to take customer complaints in mind when it comes to who they kick out, and several times this has come down to what customers were wearing. In 2019, CBS reported that Suretta Emke was asked to leave before the end of her meal at a Golden Corral restaurant. The problem turned out to be with how she was dressed, as the manager who asked her to leave said another customer had complained that Emke's clothing was too risque, so he asked her to change or cover up so as not to offend others. Of course, Emke wanted to know exactly what needed covering, but the manager apparently wasn't willing to make that distinction. Emke was dressed in a pair of shorts and a low-cut crop top that left a swath of her belly showing, as well as visible cleavage. After she was made to leave that day, her story hit various news headlines. Golden Corral ultimately apologized to her since the restaurant doesn't have a dress code. The employees received training against a repeat of the incident, and Emke received gift cards as compensation. In 2017, Rick Mock made the news for getting kicked out of a Golden Corral in Nebraska for having profanity on his t-shirt. 6 News WOWT reported that Mock was kicked out after he had already paid for his and his family's meal. It seems that another customer had complained about his clothing, which referred to then-President Donald Trump, using an expletive. That said, the issue didn't appear to be political. Instead, the manager agreed that the shirt didn't fit in with the restaurant's family environment. While it's legal in Nebraska for cities to ban cursing, there's no law against profanity on clothing. Mock said that he'd worn the shirt to the restaurant before, with no problems, and indicated that he just liked being able to exercise his right of free speech. Despite his insistence on wearing what he wanted in public, Mock was ultimately escorted out of the store by the police.
It's riot time!
It seems that you can also get kicked out of Golden Corral for making a fuss while paying. Jose Barron and his family were reportedly kicked out of a Golden Corral in 2024 due to issues with their bill. Barron later took to Facebook to recount the experience he'd had at a Golden Corral in Aurora, Colorado. The decision to kick the family out seemed to come after a couple of arguments escalated while paying to get into the buffet. One argument occurred when the waitstaff kept asking what type of drinks they wanted, even though they'd stated several times they just wanted water. The family was also surprised surprised when the bill came up to $92. Looking a little more closely, they realized the restaurant had charged them the adult price instead of the older kids' price for their 12-year-old daughter's meal. With emotions quickly escalating, the cashier didn't seem to like being questioned about charging the 12-year-old for an adult meal. Rather than call a manager to get the problems ironed out, the employees had security escort the Barron family outside, where they were promised a refund. Based on the Facebook post, it appears that the family never got their money back. Barron claimed the employees didn't think that $92 was a big deal and called the family names during these arguments. Barron also ended up calling the police, but they didn't come to the restaurant as it wasn't considered to be an emergency.